Standard, 4-1, all 8 ran.
We'll be back at Chepstow after the lunchtime news, when we'll also bring you highlights from the first and only qualifying session for tomorrow's Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne. European indoor athletics coming up as well, and our live rugby league, the Challenge Cup semi-final, Widnes and St Helens. Early kick-off for that of 2:15. Join us again after the news.
When the show is dead and gone, people say, do you remember that? And it is made up as it goes along. No, I can't remember what I was going to say. It zooms along like an express train most weeks. Oh, nuts! Oh, nuts! There's a man holding a sheep. We're not laughing at you. We're laughing towards you.
You're watching BBC One. Now the news with Moira Stewart.
Good afternoon. Railtrack says that initial inquiries into last night's rail crash in Staffordshire show no defects with the track or the signalling and no vandalism. One person died in the accident on the main West Coast line at Rickerscote when a mail train crashed into a derailed freight train.
At daybreak, the full extent of the accident became clear, and how close this incident came to being a major disaster. A freight train carrying carbon dioxide was derailed. Within minutes, a mail train coming in the opposite direction hit the tanker trucks. All but one of the injured were postal workers who were standing sorting mail when the accident happened shortly after 11 o'clock. A resident who went to help said there was shock and confusion. He found the driver of the mail train.
He was actually sitting on top of the embankment. Now, I don't know how he got there. There was another guy with him, and I'm assuming it's another neighbour of mine, although I couldn't, it could have been one of the workers. Because as the workers came out, there was about 6 or 7 that I saw. Obviously, they had head injuries and things, all very dazed.
Rescue operations were hampered by one of the gas tanks rupturing. Railtrack says it could be weeks before the exact cause of the crash is known.
We spent most of the early hours of this morning going through the rescue operation of the casualties, and it's taken us some time to actually get onto site. Now that daylight has broken, my technical team is there, and they're carrying out the preliminaries for their investigation. And that will be a thorough investigation and look at all aspects of this incident.
It's thought the preliminary investigations at the site show no evidence of vandalism and no evidence of a track defect or signalling problem. Liz Goddard, BBC News, Stafford.
Police have confirmed that an explosion in West London was caused by a small bomb. Anti-terrorist officers have been searching the scene at the Old Brompton Road in Fulham. No one has admitted carrying out the attack.
Police have cordoned off the immediate area of the bomb blast, and about a dozen officers have been conducting a fingertip search. Although it was a small explosive device and no one was hurt, the extent of the damage to nearby walls and windows shows it could have caused serious injury. It was detonated at midnight and placed in or near recycling bins next to a Victorian cemetery just off one of the main routes through West London. It's a few hundred yards from a Ministry of Defence building and Earls Court Exhibition Centre. There were motorists in the street.
I was in the car by about 20 metres far away from the car.
And what did you see?
Just a bomb. I just heard the noise.
Police aren't commenting on possible IRA involvement. An hour later, the bomb would have coincided with closing time at a club. As it was, 350 customers were evacuated.
I think they're despicable. They could have hurt my friends and my customers. They shouldn't do it. Basically, they're potential murderers.
Although this device exploded late at night, this street is still at that time often busy with pedestrians and traffic. It's fortunate that there were no injuries, but whoever is responsible may have intended some kind of demonstration. Wesley Kerr, BBC News, West London.
A hijacker who seized a Turkish Cypriot airliner has given himself up at Munich airport. After 6 hours of negotiations, German police boarded the Boeing 727 and all 109 passengers were released unharmed. The hijacker, a young Turkish man, seized the plane yesterday in northern Cyprus using a fake pistol. He wanted to publicise alleged Russian atrocities in Chechnya. England's cricketers are out of the World Cup after they were completely outplayed by Sri Lanka in the quarter-finals. Sri Lanka comfortably reached the target set by England's batsmen, winning by 5 wickets with 9 overs to spare.
Long before the end in Faisalabad, the vultures were circling over the last paltry remains of English cricketing pride. Even being rated underdogs against Sri Lanka seemed not to goad their dignity, and despite a decent start from Atherton and Smith, they were consistently second-rate. True, debatable decisions went against them, most notably when the third umpire ruled that Smith had been run out. Quite how he judged that the TV replay proved it beyond doubt was quite beyond England. Thereafter, they lost wickets with depressing regularity against one of world cricket's weakest attacks, their innings getting into the kind of tangle precious few could emulate. Forthright batting from Philip de Freitas prevented complete disaster. His 67 was a career best, but he too eventually fell victim to another dubious decision.
And he's giving him out.
Late blows from Reeve and Gough took England further past 200 than had once seemed likely, but their final total had a vulnerable look to it. It was more than vulnerable. Satan Jayarusingha simply mowed it down like a combine harvester in a cornfield. 4 consecutive boundaries off Illingworth were followed by 22 runs off 1 over from de Freitas, as Sri Lanka's 100 came up in only the 12th over.
That's on the roof.
He'd made 82 from just 44 balls when Russell's lightning glove work removed him, but by then he'd effectively won the match. As many had feared, as soon as the tournament became sudden death, England had gone tamely to the gallows. The inquest will be long, painful and almost certainly not without victims. Kevin Geary, BBC News.
That's it for now. There's more news at 5:20.
Just when you thought it was all over.
Do you remember this?
It's the pretty one from Prisoner of Cell Block 8.
Well, surely you remember this.
You've been drinking, sir.
Hey, you cheeky young man with those ears, I thought you were the FA Cup.
Oh, come on, you can't have forgotten this.
I think it's a woman.
Oh, dear. It's no good. We're going to have to put the new series that They Think It's All Over on before the pub shuts.
They Think It's All Over starts Tuesday, 9:30 on BBC1.
It's all just about to begin here on Grandstand. An afternoon of athletics from the European Indoor Championships in Stockholm, the Challenge Cup Rugby League semi-final, Widnes against St Helens. And in the small hours of tomorrow morning, we've got the first Grand Prix of the new Formula One season, the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Many changes from the last dramatic season. Damon Hill remains at Williams, but now alongside the exciting French-Canadian Jacques Villeneuve.